Dr. Ethan Cole stood quietly in the center of the Aurelian Research Dome, holding a small container of earth soil in his gloved hands. Around him, the air shimmered with a faint golden glow. Filtered through the glass canopy that protected the colony from the strange, shifting atmosphere outside, he had been on this alien world for only 2 days. Everything still felt unreal. The purple sky, the double suns, and the constant hum of the Lysari technology that seemed to breathe like a living thing. The Lysari people themselves fascinated him most. They were tall and graceful, their pale silver skin glowing faintly when they moved, and their hair shimmered in colors that shifted with emotion. Ethan had come as part of a human-alien research exchange program. His task was simple: study how Earth flora could adapt to alien ecosystems, and see whether they could grow sustainable food crops here. It was supposed to be a quiet assignment, far from home, far from the noise of human cities. But peace on alien worlds never lasted long. The trouble began with a sound, soft at first, like the flutter of wings. Then it turned into shouting. "Doctor! Human doctor!" A voice cried. Ethan turned around. Down the curved path of the botanical garden, a Lysari woman came running. Her glowing robes flared as she moved, and her eyes, normally calm and blue, blazed with fear. Behind her came others, at least 6 of them, each clutching their arms or necks, their shimmering skin pulsing with wild colors. "It itches." The first one cried, her translator bracelet struggling to match the urgency of her tone. "Make it stop." "It burns." Ethan froze for half a second. He'd seen alien illnesses before, but never like this. The women's skin, usually smooth and luminous, was covered in glowing patches that flickered like small stars. He dropped his tools and ran to meet them. "Sit down. All of you," he ordered, gesturing toward a shaded bench. "Don't scratch, it'll worsen it. I'll check what's happening." The Lysari obeyed, though their faces twisted in discomfort. Ethan grabbed his scanner from his belt, a human-made handheld device that analyzed biological readings. He moved quickly from one to another, scanning their skin, heart rates, and chemical levels. No toxins detected. No bacteria. No radiation spikes. "What happened?" he asked. One of the women, clutching her shoulder, managed to speak through the translator. "We were tending your plants. The small green ones from your world. They looked safe. Then the itching began. We thought it was heat, but then everyone touched them, and now it spreads." Ethan's heart sank. He had brought only 5 types of earth plants, common ones, all certified safe by interspecies health standards. Still, alien environments had ways of turning harmless things into unpredictable ones. "Okay," he said calmly. "No one panic. I'll isolate the plants and take samples. Whatever this is, we'll find a cure." The Lysari women looked at him in confusion. "You can fix this?" one asked, her voice trembling. Ethan smiled faintly, trying to reassure them. "I can try. On Earth, we call this kind of thing a bad reaction. Nothing we can't figure out." He hurried to the small greenhouse chamber where the plants from Earth were kept. As he entered, his scanner beeped faintly, traces of microscopic pollen floating in the air. It wasn't dangerous to humans, but the composition was unusual. The particles vibrated faintly in ultraviolet light, reacting to the Lysari atmosphere. "Pollen," he muttered to himself. "That's what's causing it." He took a sample and placed it under the microviewer. Within seconds, the tiny grains began to shimmer and then pulse, in sync with the electrical field of the room. Ethan frowned. The Lysari skin contained crystal-based nerve networks. That's what made them bioluminescent. If this pollen had resonated with their crystal frequency, it might have created a harmless but painful reaction, a bioelectrical irritation that their nervous system read as intense itching. Back outside, the women were still struggling not to scratch. Their glowing patterns were now flickering rapidly, filling the dome with light. One of them looked at him desperately. "It is spreading to my neck. Will it kill us?" "No," Ethan said firmly. "You're going to be fine. I know what's happening. Just stay still. I need to make a neutralizing mist. He grabbed a container of distilled water, mixed it with mineral stabilizers, and adjusted the field frequency on the purifier. His hands moved fast, steady, focused, professional. The Lasari watched in silence, their bright eyes fixed on the human who seemed oddly calm in the middle of their crisis. When he finally sprayed the mist across the air, the room filled with a faint, cool fog. The pollen particles flickered briefly and then faded from view. The women exhaled slowly, the tension easing from their faces. One by one, they began to relax. The glow on their skins softened to a gentle silver dot. Ethan wiped his forehead with the back of his hand. "That should give you temporary relief," he said. "But I'll need a few hours to make a permanent solution." The lead woman, whose name was Lyra, tilted her head. Her silver hair glimmered faintly as she studied him. "You did this without fear?" "Even when our bodies glowed like sickness lights. Most off-worlders would have run." Ethan chuckled lightly. "I'm not most off-worlders. Humans cause half their own problems. We're good at cleaning up messes." Lyra blinked, not fully understanding his humor, but sensing the warmth in his tone. "Your calmness. It gives us comfort," she said quietly. As the others rested, Ethan continued working in the lab area. He took more samples, comparing them to the Lasari cellular structure. The longer he studied, the more fascinated he became. The Lasari body was an intricate network of biocrystals that responded to light, energy, and even emotions. To them, sunlight wasn't just warmth. It was nourishment, communication, and memory. The idea that simple earth pollen could cause such an effect was both terrifying and amazing as he worked. One of the younger Lasari assistants approached. "Doctor," she said softly. "The others are feeling better. They say the itching fades." "That's good," he replied, not looking up from his readings. "But I'll keep checking." "We need to prevent it from happening again," she hesitated. "You humans. When we feel pain, you don't look away. You look closer. Why?" Ethan finally looked at her and smiled gently. "Because that's how we learn. On Earth, we always look at what hurts, then we fix it." Hours passed. The second sun began to set, painting the dome an orange light. The Lasari women gathered quietly, still watching the human scientist who had worked without rest. The translator picked up fragments of their whispers, admiration, curiosity, even disbelief that a being so different could care so much about their suffering by nightfall. Ethan finally leaned back in exhaustion. "All right," he murmured to himself. "Now, I know what triggered it. I can make a real antidote." Lyra approached him again, carrying a cup of bright blue liquid that served as the Lasari version of tea. "For your strength," she said. He accepted it gratefully. "Thank you." They stood in silence. The lights of the garden flickered softly around them. The once chaotic dome was peaceful again. Flowers from both worlds glowed side by side, the alien ones breathing with soft pulses, the earth plants standing quietly in their new home. Lyra looked at them, then at him. "Your world must be full of danger if you are so ready for chaos." Ethan smiled faintly. "You could say that, but it also makes us value peace more when we find it." Her luminous eyes softened. "Then I hope your peace will stay here a while, human doctor." He didn't answer right away. He just looked up at the stars visible through the dome, 2 suns fading into violet night, and wondered how many more strange problems this world would bring. But for now, he was simply grateful that he could help. And somewhere deep inside, a thought formed that maybe, between human science and alien empathy, something far greater than survival was beginning to grow. The night on Aurelian had a quiet beauty that still amazed Dr. Ethan Cole. The twin suns had faded beyond the violet horizon, and now the sky shimmered with soft ribbons of green light. The Lasari called them sky veins, natural energy currents that pulsed through their atmosphere. To Ethan, they looked like a living aurora, breathing gently above the transparent dome of the colony. Inside the laboratory, the world was far less peaceful. Beakers hummed, data pads flickered, and faint chemical scents filled the air. Ethan had been working without rest since the pollen incident. His hands moved with careful precision as he adjusted the frequency of the field generator. Every few minutes he took notes, checked readings, and tested reactions on microscopic samples of Lysary's skin cells. He knew the mist he'd made earlier was only temporary. The pollen from the earth plant still floated invisibly in the air, waiting to trigger another wave of painful itching if left unchecked. He couldn't let that happen again. Outside the lab's glass wall, he could see the alien garden glowing faintly, flowers with crystal petals, trees with blue leaves that moved like water. The Lysari women rested nearby, lying under soft energy lights that helped calm their nerves. Their breathing was slow, their silver skin dimly shining like moonlight. The sight gave Ethan motivation. These beings trusted him, even though they barely knew what a human really was. And he couldn't let that trust break. "Midnight visitors?" The door hissed open. Lyra stepped inside quietly, carrying 2 glass containers filled with the Lysari tea. Her glowing robe shimmered in shades of pale green. "You are still working," she said softly. "It is the deep hour. Even our sons rest now." Ethan smiled faintly. "Humans are stubborn creatures. When we promise to fix something, we usually stay up until it's done." She placed 1 cup beside him and looked at the table covered in alien and human tools. "Your science is strange," she murmured. "It hums, it vibrates, but it listens to your voice." "That's just calibration," Ethan said with a chuckle. "It listens to my commands because I set the codes myself." Lyra tilted her head. "Still, it obeys. That is power." He looked at her, surprised by her tone. Not fear, but curiosity. "It's not power," he said gently. "It's cooperation. Just like what we're doing right now." Her silver eyes met his. "Then may cooperation heal us all." She watched as he worked, fascinated by how calmly he handled the dangerous samples. Humans were smaller than Lysari, physically weaker, and lacked their energy-based senses. Yet Ethan's confidence filled the lab like quiet fire. He didn't seem afraid of failure, only focused on understanding. The discovery by dawn. Ethan's hands trembled from exhaustion, but his screen finally displayed what he had been waiting for. The molecular pattern of the pollen's reaction with Lysari crystals. It wasn't poison. It was resonance. The pollen's particles carried a specific frequency that matched the Lysari's biocrystal networks. When it touched their skin, it caused their nerves to overreact. Creating the painful itching sensation, he leaned back slowly, rubbing his tired eyes. "Got you," he whispered. "What did you find?" Lyra asked, stepping closer. "It's like music," Ethan explained. "Every living thing gives off a natural vibration. Your skin's crystals hum at a certain tone. The pollen hums at nearly the same tone but slightly off-key. That small difference causes chaos in your nerves." Lyra blinked in amazement. "You mean we are allergic to sound?" "In a way, yes," he said with a grin. "But it's energy sound, something only your bodies can feel." She looked impressed. "And you can stop this?" He pointed to the glowing vial on his table. "If I change the air frequency slightly, I can neutralize the pollen's vibration. It won't hurt you anymore." Her glow brightened softly. "Then you have saved us again." "Not yet," Ethan said, yawning. "I still need to test it." He loaded the neutralizing formula into a diffuser, setting it to release a controlled burst into the lab. He inhaled deeply as the mist spread, clean, cool, and faintly sweet. On the scanner, the pollen signals began to drop almost instantly. "It works," he said quietly. "It actually works." Lyra's smile widened. "Human science wins the day." "Human teamwork," he corrected, smiling back. The garden test an hour later. They stood together in the main dome, surrounded by other Lysari researchers. The women who had suffered the most severe itching gathered nervously. Watching Ethan as he prepared the final test, he activated the mist generator and sent a fine spray drifting across the garden. For a moment there was silence, then soft gasps. The Lysari looked at their arms, waiting for the burning to return. It didn't. Their skin shimmered softly, calm and even. "It is gone." One whispered, another laughed with relief, her voice echoing through the dome. No more fire under the skin. Cheers filled the air, the translator bracelet struggling to keep up with the wave of joyful alien speech. Ethan stood there, trying not to smile too widely as they surrounded him. The Lysari had a gentle way of showing gratitude. They placed their glowing hands over their hearts and bowed slightly. Lyra stepped forward and did the same. "You have ended our suffering," she said. "For this, we owe you honor." Ethan shook his head. "You don't owe me anything. I just did my job." But Lyra's expression remained serious. "To us, job does not mean the same as for you. You saw pain and acted. You worked without sleep. You did not leave. That is honor." The other Lysari repeated the gesture of respect. For a brief second, Ethan felt awkward. He was just a man with a scanner and a handful of luck. But as he looked at their grateful faces, something warm settled in his chest. Maybe, for the first time, he really understood what his mission here meant. The Feast of Light that evening. The Lysari invited Ethan to the Great Hall of Light, a massive crystalline structure that glowed from within like liquid gold. It was their way of celebrating healing and peace. The long tables were covered with alien fruits, shimmering grains and dishes that looked like they were made of stars. Ethan, cautious at first, found the food surprisingly sweet and refreshing. The Lysari musicians began to play, not with instruments, but with energy threads that produced sound through glowing patterns. The melodies filled the air like a living current. Lyra sat beside him, smiling as he tried to mimic the rhythm by tapping the table. "Your kind loves sound," she said. "Music, noise, even thunder. It excites you." Ethan nodded. "It reminds us we're alive. On Earth, music brings people together, even when they don't speak the same language." "Then perhaps," she said softly, "your music will one day heal us too." They both laughed quietly. Around them, the hall pulsed with joy and color. For the first time since his arrival, Ethan felt not like an outsider, but part of something greater. The morning after the next morning, the research dome smelled of fresh ozone and clean air. The pollen was completely neutralized, and the Lysari had resumed their regular work. Some even began studying the earth plants again, this time wearing protective shields Ethan designed. As he walked through the garden, the Lysari greeted him warmly. They called him Itch Healer, a nickname that made him grin every time. Lyra met him near the same bench where she had first begged for help. She carried a small glowing flower, one of the hybrid plants that had survived the pollen reaction. Its petals shimmered in a blend of blue and gold. "This is for you," she said. A reminder that pain can grow into beauty when met with patience. Ethan accepted the flower carefully. "I don't know what to say." "Then say nothing," she replied. "Just keep helping. That is your nature." He looked up at the double suns rising together. The light painted her silver skin in shades of gold. "You know," he said quietly, "this might be the start of something big, not just science, but friendship." "Friendship between worlds," Lyra said, "a new vibration in the universe." They both smiled. Around them, the alien garden shimmered with life again, a mix of Earth's green and Aurelian's glow. The colony was safe, and the air carried the gentle hum of harmony. For now, peace had returned. But deep inside, Ethan knew this was only the beginning. Every cure opened a new mystery, and somewhere in the stars, more worlds waited for the touch of human hands, steady, curious, and unafraid. A soft morning light filtered through the Aurelian dome, scattering gold and silver reflections over the glass walls. The alien world felt peaceful again. The once chaotic gardens were calm, and the sweet air carried the mixed scents of earth and Lysari flowers. Dr. Ethan Cole walked down the main path, holding a data tablet filled with reports from the night before. His experiments had proven successful. The neutralizing mist not only removed the itching reaction, but also stabilized the garden's energy field. The Lysari now could walk among the earth plants freely, without pain. As he passed by, the alien workers smiled at him, glowing softly in colors of gratitude. Some called out in their melodic voices, "Itch Healer." Ethan laughed quietly. The nickname had stuck. What began as a moment of panic had become a shared memory, one that united humans and Lysarie in unexpected friendship. But peace, he knew, never lasted long on new worlds. There was always another challenge waiting. A new crisis begins by mid-afternoon. Ethan received a message from the Lysarie Council chamber. He was requested to attend an emergency meeting. Inside the chamber, the air was cooler, humming faintly with energy currents. The Lysarie leaders stood around a glowing table of light patterns that displayed a map of the colony. Lyra was there too, her expression serious. One of the counselors, Elder Sereth, spoke through his translator. "Human doctor, our sensors detect a strange reaction near the garden perimeter. The same energy frequency that once caused the itching is spreading into the soil." Ethan frowned. "That shouldn't be possible. The neutralizer should have stopped all resonance." "It seems the pollen has fused with our own flora," Sereth continued. "Our trees now carry both vibrations, yours and ours. We fear it might spread through the ecosystem." For a moment, Ethan felt the weight of responsibility crash down on him. He had fixed one problem, but may have caused another. He drew a slow breath. "All right," he said steadily. "I'll go back to the field. If it's spreading, I'll find a way to balance it." Lyra stepped forward. "I will go with you." Ethan started to refuse, but the determination in her eyes stopped him. "All right," he said. "Let's do this together." The journey beyond the dome, they stepped outside the protective barrier for the first time since Ethan's arrival. The landscape beyond the colony looked both alien and beautiful. Vast blue grass that shimmered like glass. Giant crystal trees rising from the soil, and streams of glowing water winding through the plains. Ethan carried a portable scanner, while Lyra moved beside him, her body light and graceful. Every time the wind blew, her silver hair caught the light like fine metal threads. "Your world is quiet," Ethan said, scanning the glowing trees. "Almost peaceful." Lyra smiled faintly. "It was, until today." He crouched near one of the plants. Its roots were pulsing faintly, a slow rhythm of gold and violet light. The same dual resonance he had seen in the lab. "It's merging," he said. "Our pollen didn't die. It adapted. It wants to live here." Lyra knelt beside him. "Is that bad?" Ethan hesitated. "Maybe not. But if it keeps spreading, it could rewrite your planet's balance. Then how do we stop it?" He looked toward the horizon where the glowing fields stretched endlessly. "We don't stop it. We guide it." Guiding the energy back at the dome, Ethan began designing what he called a frequency stabilizer. It was a small, humming device that emitted low-level sound waves. If placed at the right locations, it could synchronize the mixed energies of the pollen and Lysarie plants. Allowing both to exist peacefully, the project required help. Every Lysarie scientist joined in, eager to assist the human who had saved them once before. Together they mapped the resonance zones and placed stabilizers and key points across the garden. When the final device activated, a deep hum filled the air, not loud, but gentle. Like a soft melody, the plants glowed brighter for a few seconds, then slowly settled. The blue light of the Lysarie flora merged smoothly with the green hue of earth plants. The vibrations stabilized. Lyra exhaled in relief. "It is working." Ethan smiled. Harmony. That's what it needed. The Lysarie gathered around him, some clapping softly with glowing hands, others whispering prayers of gratitude. To them, it wasn't just science, it was a miracle. Recognition from the stars a week later. A delegation ship from the Lysarie capital arrived at the colony. The silver vessel landed smoothly on the outskirts of the dome, sending waves of light through the soil. Ethan watched as the Lysarie High Chancellor stepped out tall. With robes made of woven energy strands, the Chancellor approached him directly. "Human Ethan Cole," she said, her translator echoing her calm tone. "Your actions saved not only our colony, but possibly our entire ecosystem. For this, the Lysarie people honor you." She extended her hand, glowing faintly, and placed a crystal insignia on his chest. "You are now recognized as a guardian of balance." Ethan blinked, surprised. "Guardian of balance? That's quite a title." "It is not a title," she replied. "It is a promise that our kind will remember yours, not for conquest, but for compassion. The Lasari around him bowed their heads, a gesture of deep respect. Lyra stood a few steps away, her face glowing with quiet pride. Ethan touched the insignia, unsure what to say. Finally, he managed, "Thank you. But honestly, I was just trying to make sure no one had to scratch again." The Chancellor laughed softly. "And yet you healed much more than skin." It's the farewell in the garden later that evening, when the stars rose above the dome. Ethan and Lyra walked together through the garden. The plants now glowed with a calm, soft light, gold, green, silver dancing together in the air. "It's strange," Ethan said. "When I first came here, I thought I'd just grow food. I never thought I'd end up healing an entire species." Lyra smiled. "You did more than heal. You showed us how humans think, with heart and logic together," he chuckled. "That's rare, even for humans." They stopped near the hybrid flower she had given him earlier. It had grown taller, its petals now reflecting both their world's colors. "This flower is beautiful," he said softly. "It's a reminder of what can happen when two different lives meet and learn to live together." She looked at him with quiet eyes. "Will you stay?" He hesitated, looking toward the stars. "I'd like to. But humans, right, we wander. It's in our nature. There are other worlds out there that might need help." Lyra nodded slowly. "Then when you leave, we will remember your name. Not just as itch healer, but as the one who brought balance to Aurelian." Her words touched something deep inside him. For a moment, neither spoke. They just watched the twin moons rise, their reflections rippling over the glass dome. A message to Earth before his departure. Ethan recorded a message to send back to Earth Command. "Report from Dr. Ethan Cole. Aurelian Research Dome," he began. "Mission successful. The hybrid resonance between Earth pollen and Lasari biocrystals has stabilized. Both ecosystems are now symbiotic. The Lasari culture is thriving and surprisingly open to future cooperation with humanity. They're not just beautiful beings," continued softly. "They're curious, emotional, and brave. They feel pain differently, but their kindness runs deep. They've taught me that empathy is universal. No matter how many suns you live under, if we humans ever forget that, we'll lose the best part of ourselves." He paused before ending the recording. "One more thing, they call me the itch healer. Don't laugh back home. It's the proudest title I've ever earned." Departure. The day of departure came quietly. The Lysari gathered near the landing platform, watching as Ethan prepared his shuttle. Lyra stepped forward one last time. "Take this," she said, handing him a small vial of glowing dust, the purified form of the pollen that had started it all. "So you will remember that even small things can cause great change." Ethan took it gently. "I'll remember, Lyra. Always." He looked once more at the colony, the shining dome, the peaceful gardens, and the faces of beings who had once run to him in panic, now smiling with peace. As his ship lifted into the air, the Lysari raised their glowing hands toward the sky. The entire colony shimmered in waves of blue and gold light, a farewell salute. Through the cockpit window, Ethan smiled. "Goodbye, Aurelian. Stay balanced." Epilogue. The human who healed the stars. Years later, stories of the itch healer spread beyond Aurelian. Other species spoke of the human who solved a crisis, not with weapons or orders, but with patience and care. His legend traveled faster than light, carried by traders, diplomats, and explorers, and wherever new worlds met humanity. Someone would eventually whisper the same tale. He was the first to make an alien world stop itching and start healing.